Welcome to Your Story Medicine. I am with Gary Ware, who is the founder of Breakthrough Play and is a corporate facilitator, keynote speaker, certified coach, and self-proclaimed creative catalyst. Gary has over 14 years of experience in the corporate world, holding various leadership positions. Being a multifaceted individual, Gary also comes with nearly a decade of experience as a performer in improv theater. But after experiencing burnout in his pursuit for success and happiness, he realized that what was missing the most was play. Committing to a life of play is what led Gary to discover his passion for facilitating. Gary uses the power of applied improvisation and other playful methods to assist people in unlocking creativity, confidence, and better communication. And on top of that, play is, I want to say like play is nothing to be played with, but Gary just got recently featured as one of the top 100 HR influencers in the height of the pandemic. And so I'm really excited to learn about how what we may think is counterproductive to our growth and our success may actually be the key to unlocking so many of the questions we may have about our next directions in life. So Gary, welcome to Your Story Medicine.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me on. I'm so excited to dive into this.
Me too. And a little background on how I actually learned about Gary's work was at least maybe like 5 years ago when I just stepped into this realm of coaching, and I was being asked to find out what my niche was, and everything just felt so cut and dry. And I think I just like Googled play coach and you came up. So I was like, what? This exists? Is this like an actual career, or did this person just make it up? And I mean, since then, I made up my own title, which is Life Doula. And surprisingly, that's how some people have come to find me. So before we dig into that, I just first want to hear, what is it that you are celebrating about yourself today?
What I'm celebrating about myself, other than, I'm alive, I'm breathing fresh air, we're here, is the fact that, like what you said, we are getting through a global pandemic and I am still here and I'm still assisting people, using playful methods. So yeah, one day at a time.
Yeah, I feel like people don't realize that this path of entrepreneurship, in spite of what it may look like on our websites, on social media, in our branding, that I feel like we're literally like, not to sound like this is martyrdom, but sometimes it feels like we're the ones that are holding up the world in spite of a lot of the heaviness that people may be feeling. It's like, you know what? I feel sad about the state of the world too. And yet here we are still showing up, still embodying the mission and the message and the medicine, because it's so easy to just retract, right? But if we are in a state of crises right now, perhaps what the medicine actually is that's needed right now is that joy, is that play. So okay, let's take out the title of play coach and all of your other titles, and tell us, how is it that you would describe your medicine and what it is you do in the world?
My medicine is that it's all about rejuvenation. It's all about unlearning those conditioned states of being, so that we can get back to our true unbounded nature, and just help people experience joy, especially when a number of people don't feel like they're worthy of it. Is reminding people that this is your God-given right. You are wired for this, and just helping people get back to that homeostasis, that sense of harmony with themselves and within the world.
He said homeostasis. Ooh, you're speaking my language right now. We're diving deep into the nervous system. Let's go.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so I'm really curious about the journey it is that led you to this realization. So you mentioned how burnout was a big piece of it, working in corporate America, only to realize, okay, I don't think this is sustainable. And there are so many people that will spend the rest of their lives up until retirement or until they are ejected from the system to wake up and say, I can make a different choice. I can be a part of co-creating a different kind of reality. But let's go back even further from before you were an adult. Back to little Gary. So tell us more about your own ancestral lineage and how this has birthed what it is you do today.
Yeah. So for me, my parents, Garsha and Lois, hardworking Americans, they didn't grow up in the best of situations. My dad, Black, from Oklahoma, not necessarily the kindest, to people of color. My mom grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. They happened to meet, and, birth me, young parents. And, at the end of the day, they didn't want their kids to face similar situations as they did. So education was paramount, was important. That was the according to my dad, the keys to success. And the interesting thing, talked about my sort of upbringing, is that I was the type of person from a young age that was all about making people laugh, all about connecting. And that, when you have a society of, you need to comply, you need to listen, those outliers, they didn't look like, they didn't take that very lightly. So I was the one who was, the teachers were always sending notes home, saying, oh, Gary's a very bright kid. However, he talks a lot. I don't know why I did this, but somehow I convinced the kids in my third grade class to just start jumping through puddles, caused a complete ruckus. And I remember, like, my dad was livid for a few reasons. One, he had to get out of work, of his paid job, hourly paid job, to come get his son, take him home, get him fresh clothes. And then two, yes, I was a disturbance in class. And so he would always tell me, you can play when your work is done. You need, work is important. And, the way that he showed discipline was through, physical discipline, through spanking. That was more accepted back then. And that started to, paint this picture in my head that play was a bad thing. And, wanting to, comply, I was like, all right, cool. Dad said, keep your heads down, you got to work. But for some reason, it keeps popping up and getting me into trouble. And I have this belief that the things that we did when we were younger were planted there on purpose, because you're going to need this when you get older. But a lot of times those things got you in trouble, so you learn to hide them. And so when I was younger, in regards to play, like, it did motivate me to get my work done, because at the end of the day, I just wanted to play. I just wanted to have fun. So cool. All right. That was the thing. All right. Do your homework. All right. Then you can play. All right. Do your homework and then you can play. That just became my operating system. And, essentially keep your head down, do the work. At the end of the day, it will all pay off. And I grow up, I get into the, sort of corporate sphere. Another thing, as far as my heritage, I'm the first one to graduate college. So there's a lot of pressure there. But that program that was implanted in my head at an early age was the key, in my opinion, the key to my success, but it became it was not sustainable, as you said. So I'll just sort of pause there. And if you want to reflect on that.
So little Gary grows up, graduates from college, makes his parents proud, and enters the corporate sphere. What was your realization that this was not the ways that we should be interacting with each other?
Yeah. So every job that I started, the work always started as play, as very fun, very playful. Got the work done, but it was just a very playful, behavior. And it felt effortless. I was in that state of flow. However, as quickly as it, started as play, it dissipated like that. Then that seeing the world as a proving ground came back. It was like my dad's voice was in the back of my head, son, you can only play when the work is done. And that subtle shift in thinking, it's so fascinating how that can have such an impact on us, from seeing the world as a playground where, like, oh yeah, you know what, we'll get the work done, but we don't have to take ourselves so serious, to no, it's a proving ground, which means that the people around you are your competitors, and you need to prove, are you worthy? Are you good enough? And it just forces you to work. And in this day and age where we're ever so connected, we could be reached at a moment's notice. The work is never done. So we don't ever get that reprieve. So I was finding myself, all right, I need a vacation. And I would never really take the vacation because I didn't, deep down inside, I didn't know this at the time, but deep down inside, I didn't think I was worthy of the vacation, whatever the case may be. So I just kept working. And no one's going to stop and say, oh, you're working too much. Matter of fact, those are the things that were celebrated. And so there were numerous times where, I would go on vacation and I would get sick. As soon as I go on vacation, and then I get back and I feel a little rested. And the moment I get back, the overwhelm hits. And then I'm like, man, I need another vacation. I'm like one of those old school iPhones that you charge it all night, and then by noon, it needs a charge again. That's how I felt on the inside. And I was like, something has to stop.
Right. And like, I don't have experience working in corporate America, but and my background is nonprofit work, but I still feel like the culture of work in general is that we are rewarded for how hard we work, and the evidence of hard work, at least from my perspective, looks like exhaustion. So it's almost as if the more tired we are, the closer to burnout we look and we feel, actually is a way that proves how dedicated we are, and that rest, pleasure, and play are the incentive, are the reward. I remember the first and only full-time job I had ever had. We had like a self-care fund, and so the self-care fund was meant to be something that obviously, like, is a way to keep us going, because I was working in crisis intervention. But what I didn't understand is that whenever we would be encouraged to practice self-care, it was by removing ourselves from the working environment, whether that be a vacation or like having a spa day. And yet we would come right back into these situations of trauma, into crisis. So it's like, is this truly sustainable for me to continue going back into the workforce, to martyr myself, to and to feel like this is how I get to contribute to the world? I'm like, how is this even sustainable? Maybe I didn't have enough quote unquote self-care practices, but I mean, my trajectory is that I got ejected. And yet for you, how is it that you came to find play as the actual medicine or as the vice?
Yes. So first and foremost, you're absolutely right. The environment always wins. So if the environment is not conducive to these practices, then it's going to be this cyclical cycle. And so for me, I got lucky in that, in an effort to optimize my success, I took an improv class. So it's so ironic thinking about that now. Something that ended up being extremely playful and whatnot. I didn't even see it as like a playful endeavor. I saw it as a way to get better than the other person. I need to be better. I heard improv is the way to go. I'm taking it. I was scared, but I did it. And so lucky for me, that first improv class, I feel like that was the thing that saved me, because for 2 hours, we just connected with each other. We played these silly games. I was completely present. I was completely immersed. I was not thinking about all of those other things. So it gave my body a chance to rejuvenate. It gave me a chance to like sort of tap into like, parts of myself that I hadn't even tapped into in seemed like in years. And then something interesting happened. I went back to work and the work was still the same, but it felt different. I was able to deal with it differently. I was able to respond with compassion, with empathy. And again, I didn't know what I knew now. So I wasn't aware of it. I just, wow, it's Tuesday. It's a good Tuesday. And then Sunday came around and I was excited for Monday. Most people aren't excited for Monday, in the corporate world. I was excited because I get to go play after work. And the interesting thing happened because I had something on my calendar. I couldn't overwork because I had a commitment. And then slowly but surely things started to build up. And I was so excited about this improv stuff that I started bringing it to my team. And essentially what I was bringing them was play. Again, at the time I didn't know what I know now. So it all happened by accident.
How is it that your coworkers received you inviting play into the workspace?
I think one of the reasons why it was so, I think at the time, maybe it wasn't like the people were like, oh, what's Gary up to? All right, well, he's the boss, so we're gonna do with the boss. I was a director, so I brought it to my team, and they just like, all right, cool. It's kind of weird, but then we got into it, and again, once you invite people to play, and they step into it, it's something again we're wired for. So it's pleasurable. And this sort of play, because I like to call it a Trojan horse, as in, it is like, oh, wow, we're doing this game, but it like has these properties that as you learn the properties, it transforms the way that you see the world. And that's essentially how play is. That's one of the powerful benefits of play. That's why, up until age 9, kids just learn through play. They're playing games. Boom. That's how they learn the alphabet. You get them those play brooms and play vacuums, and they're conditioning themselves to like, oh, this is how you use these things so that they can contribute to the world. It doesn't change when we get older. We just stop tapping into it.
Well, we experience life, trauma, the accumulation of it, and find our own ways to cope, which then leak into how it is we lead, as well as the decisions it is we make and the relationships that we get into. And these are the things that we're not taught. We're just taught to go to school, get good grades, keep our head down, listen to the authority. And so you as a director, there are some power dynamics involved to where people actually are like, people will listen to you. And I would imagine that if it was somebody else who was encouraging play, it might be frowned upon. But here you are as somebody who made it to this leadership position. And many people may see it as the epitome of success. And yet you bet on yourself. You took a risk and you decided, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this environment and create my own thing. What was that realization for you to leave? And what was that process like?
Again, like everything on this journey, it came by accident. I would like to say that the universe had different plans for me, and they forced my hand, because once I started realizing that, oh yeah, this play thing, this improv thing, I just started doing it just for the sake of doing it. I created these meetup groups, and once I started realizing that it does help from a business standpoint, I selfishly was learning more so I can just bring it to the team that I was working on. I had no intention on bringing it to the greater masses. And I fast forward, a good 8 years from my first improv class, and I find myself running a digital marketing agency. And the first 2 years were bliss, just like a lot of business ventures. And I thought we were changing the world. And then, when challenge happens, you get to see someone's true side. And what had happened was, I again thought, wow, this is great. I have this, career that is affording me the ability to do these meetups and these retreats for like next to nothing. I love it. And I'm in Nicaragua on this retreat with a co-facilitator of mine, and it's the last day. We're watching the sunset over the ocean. There's baby turtles swimming out to the water, and I was like, "This is it. I've made it." So much so that I got a tattoo that says harmony. I'm like, "This is what harmony is like." Only to step into chaos the moment I get back home to San Diego, because I checked in with my business partner that Monday, like we typically do. And he had other plans. He thought we should go our separate ways. And he essentially just fired me right then and there. I got my little buyout check, and I was essentially unemployed. And then 2 hours after that, our landlord called to say that he was selling our house. And me, my wife, and my 1-year-old son, we had about 60 days to, get our stuff together and figure out what's next. I was going through a lot of shame, like, man, I messed up everything for my family. Good thing, I have such a supportive wife. She was the one who, saw that, like, man, you really are getting a lot of joy through this facilitation. If you double down on it and focus on it, I'm pretty sure this, could be something big. And so we sold everything, moved in with my parents, and I set off try to figure out how to make this work. And that was 5 years ago.
Wow. And how has it been today? How have the masses been receiving your offerings? And then also, how is it that you feel improv helped to give you clarity that this is it? This is what I get to contribute to the world.
Yeah. So as far as I owe everything to improv, because improv is a mindset. It's a way of being. It's not just, yeah, I can get on stage and I can make people laugh, or I can, make things up on the spot. In order to do that, you have to change the way that you see and do everything. You can't, the moment you step off stage, you can't just undo that. It becomes who you are. And one of the main principles of improv is this concept called yes and, which means that you accept the offer that was presented to you and you build on it, you contribute to it. And on stage, that is as simple as if your scene partner says, "Oh, wow, such a beautiful night out tonight. Look at the stars." You say, "Oh yeah, it is a beautiful night. And look, oh, there's the Big Dipper." That, yes, you're saying yes to what they're saying, and then you're adding to it. In real life, it's a little bit more complicated because you may not like what the offer is. I definitely didn't like the fact that my business partner decided that we should go our separate ways with no warning whatsoever. And and our landlord to say he's selling our house. However, that was the offer. And I had a choice, and I chose to respond with positivity and to just take a step. And so that has been, something that I continue to practice. So you asked as far as how is, the world receiving this. In the beginning, it was very challenging because I, was like, "Oh yeah, improv play." And most people who don't get it are like, "Yeah, sorry, we don't have time for that." Or, "Oh, I'm kind of scared of this improv stuff." And so I, another tenet of improv is deep listening. Being able to listen, not just to the words, but the tone and things like that. So what I was picking up was people were curious. However, they had some reservations. And so what I started realizing is that they want to train their team. They want their teams to be productive. However, it's kind of hard to sell to a boss that you're just going to goof off for 2 hours and that's going to be productive. And that's when I really started to study the effects of play. And so I, going back to the Trojan horse, I said, well, no, this is communication training. This is very serious stuff right here. We're teaching your team how to collaborate, because the future is so uncertain. And if they can't deal with that, then your business is going to go under the moment anything happens. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, tell me more." And so I would bring this curriculum that is focused on that. Those are the learning outcomes. And, we do it in a playful way, and they have a great time and they learn something. So that was, how I started to adapt. Anywho, 2 years into that, we, I thought like, "Oh, I think I'm getting the hang of this." We were throwing another curveball, the global pandemic. So, and we went from doing everything in person to now trying to figure out how to do it virtually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that took some time. But yeah, the same thing goes, is that it's all about choosing to take a step with positivity. And at the end of the day, how can you, one of my favorite tenets of improv, how can you make your partner look amazing?
So who's your partner in this then?
Well, right now in this co-creation, you are my partner. So I'm hoping that I am making you look amazing, but it's any sort of interaction. It is sort of interaction. It gets you out of
Yes.
your head and gets you present of, hey, how can I make someone look amazing? Now there is a fine detail, because if
Wow.
you're, if you're too into it, you can get into people pleasing. I totally get that.
Mm,
So, everything, has its, like, you got to balance. However, in these situations, when we are, coming from a scarcity mindset, proving ground mindset, we don't usually think about the other person. We think about ourselves.
mhm,
And, oh, this, I
mm.
need you to sign off on this workshop because I got to pay my bills. I got to do all these things. That is still true. And how can you find a way to make it a win-win? When you make it a win-win,
Mhm.
then you get into the playful mindset. Now we're doing it through play. Because if you think about any sort of playful endeavor that we go into, yeah, we're having fun. We're connecting. We're co-creating together.
Yeah. What are other tenets of improv that you feel can support us with living a more playful life? Because I feel like a lot of us, including myself, experience so much guilt when it comes to making that choice of playing versus sitting down and like saying, I'm an adult, I have to be in front of my computer, I have to work. In order for me to experience joy and abundance, it requires discipline and rigidity. And also what does that lead into? Overwhelm um versus knowing that there's an opportunity for me to lean deeper into ease, which sounds frivolous. So what are other lessons that I can incorporate and that the community at large listening can see
Mhm.
as an invitation
Yes.
to embody more of this play in their life?
So one of the things that I've learned through improv and through other studies is, how can we tap back more into our intrinsic desire? And that is the beauty of play. Play is all about intrinsic. So when you're playing, it's all about enjoying what is happening here and right now. So how can we bring that back to the work? The same two people can spend the same amount of time working. However, their mindset is going to determine when they're done. Are they going to feel exhausted, or are they going to feel invigorated? Because if you are focusing on outside of the work, are people going to like me? Or am I going to get approval for this? Or, ooh, I might make a mistake. Those things are outside of the work. Those are extrinsic motivators. And so as a result, it's not sustainable and you will burn yourself out. However, if you see the work as play, and when I mean by play is, oh, there's a challenge, let me overcome it. One of the things that I learned in improv is mistakes are gifts. So normally, with work, like, oh my God, I make a mistake. Oh, everyone's going to hate me, yada, yada, yada. In improv, we say, ta-da, and we take a bow and we say, all right, that happened. What can we learn from it? But more importantly, I made a mistake. I am not a mistake.
Mm.
That is a big thing that took me a while to learn, and I'm still practicing that one. But what it does, it gives you permission to make bold choices, gives you permission to see the obstacles that show up in your work as opportunities for growth. And at the end of the day, it's just a mindset shift. And I'll tell you a quick story to help illuminate this. There's a gentleman, his name is RB, and he is a ticket taker, old gentleman, at a movie theater, way past retirement. But yet he, he wanted to go work at this movie theater. You go up and he just makes you feel amazing. Talk about making your partner look good. His only job is to take tickets. Only job is to take tickets, show you where the theater is. It's probably not the most glamorous job, but every time I go, he is snapping his fingers. He is such a delight. And I I believe that when he is there to take my ticket, back when we would go to movies and stuff like that, the movie experience was way better. And I was curious. I'm like, Arby, what's your story? Like, what's up? And he said he just loves people. That brings him joy. And so, he, after he retired, he went through a depression because he felt like he needed to be contributing. And because he loves people, he saw this as an opportunity to use his gifts. And he sees every day as an opportunity to play. He's at work, he's playing. Cross-reference that to the 18-year-old teenager who's like, oh, I got to get a job. My mom said I needed to get a job or I'm getting kicked out. And they're like, theater 7 on your left. For them, like, they hate it. Same job, 2 different mindsets, 2 different energies. One is play, one is work. And, they say most people think the opposite of work is play. The fact of the matter is the opposite of work is not play. The opposite of play is depression. Because you can get into a state of flow, through work, and it's seen as play. But you can do the same work, and if you're not seeing it through the right lens, it's exhausting.
Wow. Yeah. You're making me think of this this guy who runs, I don't know if he runs it or if he just works there, but it's on the beach, this croissant donut shop that's open 24/7. And I remember going at 3:00 a.m. when I was much younger, and it was actually a Thai guy that worked at the front, and they also had ice cream there. And I was wearing like my Thai fisherman pants, and he made a comment on it, and I'm like, oh, you're Thai too. And like, why is it that you're so happy at 3:00 in the morning? Just greeting everybody who is coming in. And I knew that he had been there all night, and he goes, I have the best job in the world. And so he handed me my ice cream cone. He's like, I get to make people smile. And that was a perspective shift for me as well, that it's not so much about our title or like what it is we do, but who it is we be in the world. And like, how is it? And one of the questions that I've been sitting with is like, how is it that I can add more beauty? How can I add more beauty to every experience? And so I really appreciate that perspective shift. How is it that we can approach our work not as something we dread going to, but as an opportunity to like see this world as a playground of possibilities versus a place to prove how much we know or how much money we make or how many people we know. And I really feel like if more people were able to approach life with this perspective, that we could make seismic shifts. And I'm talking like changing policies too. How do we get your workshop into the government?
Agreed. I feel like I'm making small strides there because I am going to be doing a workshop for their secretaries of state legislators in September.
Come on.
Baby steps. And I hope it's like a ripple effect because you're absolutely right to the point. So someone might hear this and say, oh, that's nice. Oh, beauty. Well, that's not my thing. All right, cool. Mm-hmm. Play is very specific and it's very personal. That's why it's so elusive, because someone might see someone playing is like, well, that's not me. That's not for me. Now, going back to my story of when I was younger, my sort of play drive, my play personality was the joker, was the storyteller. There are a whole slew of play personalities. And I invite people and this is not something I invented. This is from Dr. Stuart Brown, who wrote an amazing book on play and how it shapes everything in our world. He talks about go back, think what were the things that you did when you were younger that brought you joy, because it probably still does. And then again, talk about intrinsic desire. How can you incorporate that or see that in the work that you're doing? Because if you can start doing that shift, you can go from seeing it as just something that you have to do, that something that you enjoy doing. But it requires you to, choose. It's a choice. And so that is my invite to anyone listening is, what is it? That's again the missing link. That is the difference between seeing the world as a proving ground to a playground. Because when you see it as a playground, all right, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to be making progress. It's not about approval. It's not about all the sort of accolades. It's about the work. And you can tie it to anything. And that is a constant practice that I have of, reminding myself, all right, this is not something that I enjoy. However, how can I approach it from a playful mindset? And just like what Mary Poppins says, for every job that must be done, add a little bit of fun and snap, the job's a game. So how can you do that? Now, so I say that, and you hear that, you're like, oh, that's great. You might be taking some notes. However, this is where the work begins, because, and this is why the movement that I'm calling it the playful rebellion, is that we have been conditioned to see the world as a proving ground, as a place of scarcity. And it's in us, it's in our DNA. I am someone who's been studying play for the last decade, and I still find myself seeing as a proving ground. I work from home, and my son is here a lot of the times, and I feel guilty because he comes up, Dada, you're working too much. Why won't you play with me? And I'm like, you're right. Thank you for that reminder. I appreciate that. And so as a result of that, we have to rebel against the self that has been conditioned outside of our control. And it takes practice. It takes something that, is ongoing. And I saw this, one of these sort of cheeky signs at Target, and it hit me. And it said, finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's Coke's pocket. You're also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself and unlearning and remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. So that is my invite to everyone.
I feel like everything I'm doing, because I work with people who have a lot more education than me, and when they come to me with their tender dreams, I just see their inner child, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to be an experience where you're going to come, consume information, take notes, and get a grade, or get in trouble if you don't turn in the assignment. It's actually about unpeeling the layers, unlearning so much of what it is we've been taught, and giving ourselves that permission to become wild again, to rewild, to invite play, to lead with pleasure, knowing that in that process, the self-doubt is going to arise. The adults in our mind that told us this was not safe, this is not productive, you're going to get in trouble, and to allow that to ripple into our cultures, into our homes, our families, and our relationships. And so I'm curious from you, Gary, what is it that you are currently doing to stay grounded in a time where we are being told that that we need to take things more seriously, which we do. Or even a time where I feel like, especially right now, there's so much scarcity in the air that it's easy to buy into those stories. And also, what is it that you're learning to release?
I'm learning to release judgment. Again, those conditionings that make me think that I'm not enough, and how I am sort of becoming the best version of myself to give people permission to do the same. Is I am making space, and this requires putting it on my calendar, to do things that bring me joy, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. And it is, I call it, that is the most rebellious that you can do, is in the face. And I learned this from amazing activator and speaker of truth, Brittany Packnick Cunningham. A number of people might be familiar with her work, but she talks about, it's called Defiant Joy. And it tells people that you will not destroy me. It is a sign, to all of that noise out there that, hey, yes, you're out there and I'm important and I need to fill my cup so that I can do this fight. And I'm going to read something, that was from an article that she wrote on self.com. And she said, joy is a break from a news cycle that will discombobulate me if I left it. Joy is the middle finger to a bigot with a torch who wants to see me cower. Joy is a moral victory against extremism and a political win, fueling us to persist and resist. Joy is resistance to the hate that fills the front page. And yes, sometimes joy is a bike, a burger, and me choosing myself as an act of political warfare, so I'm ready to fight another day. And it is something that, again, people that are doing this work, we don't feel like there's space for it. I'm saying that it is a necessity if we want to continue to fight.
Yes. Out of curiosity, what does it look like in your calendar? Like, how is it that you are embodying joy?
Yeah. So for me, on some cases, I have them right here. Nope, my son took them. It's all good. But I do have this guy. It's a little hand puppet. It was a bag of Legos, so a small bag of Legos. I have them handy. And again, my son is extremely playful like me. So anything that, and that's what kids do, they model their parents. So he sees me playing with it. He's like, oh, these are cool. I'm going to take them. And other times it's me learning how to do magic and sucking at it. But it's just for me. It brings me joy. Other times I have this wall. So this, in this video recording, I'm here in my office, and across from me is this wall that has letters that people have written, saying thanks. And I'll take like a minute, 2 minutes, and just sort of look at it and get lost in it. And it's just a reminder of like, yes, you're doing what you need to do. And then other times, I have this thing, it's called a rebel deck, and it is provocative tarot sort of readings, and it's saying, what does the world want to know, what does the universe want me to know? And then I'll just sort of shuffle it up and I'll pick one. And so I'll pick one at random right now. And it says, so it has an attitude. So it says, make better effing choices. That's the main thing. And then on the back it says, if you were pissed at where you are, then stop taking yourself there. So again, stuff like that helps me realize that, yes, the work is serious, but I do not have to take myself so seriously.
I love it. Thank you for that permission, Gary. Because the work that we are doing is so much more than just our titles and having these responsibilities of running a day-to-day business. I feel like what you are doing is leaving this lasting legacy is a part of that seismic cultural shift that we are in desperate need of right now. And so I would love to invite you to envision yourself as a future ancestor, the one who is placed on the altar of somebody's playground. And if you could speak from this future ancestral version of yourself to everything it is that you are moving through today, what is it that this version of Gary would say?
So this is the future.
Yeah, the
All
future
right.
to present day Gary.
Yeah. He would say, first off, I love you. You know you are amazing. But I know you need to hear this, so I'm going to say it again. You are doing amazing work. And he would say, take a moment, take a breath, take a deep breath, and realize that this moment is just a moment. And, no matter what you do, it's going to work out. So might as well do it with flair. Have fun doing it. Because the people who care are going to root for you no matter what.
Let's take a breath with that.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Thank you, wise elder Gary, and present day Gary. And I know that you are birthing some other things in the horizon. So tell us more about where people can find you and about what you are creating next.
Yes. All right. I'm birthing all kinds of things. So if you want to find out about everything, you can go to my website, breakthroughplay.com. I'm also in the process of releasing a book called Playful Rebellion, Workplace Success, or Maximize Workplace Success Through the Power of Play. And that can be found on the website, playfulrebellion.com. It will send you to where you can pre-order the book, or depends on when this comes out. It might be available by then. And I'm birthing a human. Well, not me personally, but my wife is pregnant, and we have a baby, a real baby lunch in August. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon.
Oh, a future ancestor reincarnated, a teacher in the
Yes.
comeback. Well, wow, what a right choice that this baby made to enter your lives and to choose you as teachers, as parents, as guides. And the way that I see it, Gary, the work you are doing is healing so many of our inner children that have forgotten. So thank you so much for doing the work to help us adults remember that magic that is within us, and to remind me especially that just because I've made a mistake, it doesn't mean that I am the mistake. And what a beautiful opportunity for growth in this playground that we call life.
My pleasure. So excited to be here.